And you know, and when did I find out that she was on her period? Standing in the line before we have to go into the reception. And I'm told at that moment, like, yeah, I'm on my period. And I'm like, just the whole everything in me just sunk into the sunken place. And I was just like,
you did not go into no sunken place.
No sex?
Look, it's me and you against the world, girl, and I ain't talking slick. Others may have said it, but they worldview was midget. That means it wasn't big enough for what life would experience.
Hey everybody, man, welcome back to the Tanks Talk
Podcast.
Podcast, man. We are back and we are excited to bring another episode to the people. And this one's gonna be good.
Is it?
Yeah, because we've been telling y'all that we asked for a divorce coming back from the honeymoon, and we are finally gonna talk about why we asked for a divorce.
Absolutely.
You want to tell them? You want to just tell them why off top, and then we'll get to it. You want to just tell them why?
Because you was a trash husband to start.
Because I was. That's why. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like what specifically? Why? What was I trash about?
You was insensitive to my needs and my desires.
Translation: we wanted a divorce because of sex. We came back from the honeymoon, and the whole issue around wanting a divorce stemmed from an issue with intimacy. We're going to get into it, but first, we want to remind you guys to hit the subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell, to share, hit all of the buttons. If you want to hear why we asked for a divorce, you got to hit the subscribe button right now. I see you. You're not hitting it. Hit the subscribe button. All right, guys. So listen, man, we are going to be talking about our wedding day. We're going to be talking to you guys about our wedding day, the night, the honeymoon, because all of that played a factor into what led up to the issue surrounding intimacy.
Correct.
That caused us to come back not wanting to be married no more. Not wanting to be married no more.
Not at all.
But it didn't all start off bad.
It wasn't all it started off all right.
Yeah, what was good about it?
Some good things was, so we had our first kiss when we said I do. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was waiting on that.
It was pretty cool, and I got skills, so it was pretty cool regarding our
Did you say that skills?
I do.
Okay.
I don't.
I don't know how like kissing and skills like that. It's a skill to that.
It is. I'll teach you. And so the first kiss I think was really, really cool too. Just the whole situation leading up to our first kiss. That's being something we shared actually on our wedding day when we did in fact say I do. So I think that was a dope moment to continue a memory to have. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I would agree. That was really special. We had the first dance. That was special. I was super nervous because I can't dance.
Facts.
And I was like, all these people about to watch me not know how to dance.
Facts.
Man, and then I had to dance with a bunch of people.
You did.
You, my mama, my stepmama.
You had a lot of dances.
I'm like, I don't know how to dance. And
you had a nice little two-step. You went back and
that's because I got swagger at the end of the day, cuz.
Facts, though. You got swag on deck. So that was cool. And then we had that game that we played during the banquet.
See, my auntie had told me, make sure y'all invite some older people because older people give you money.
Yeah, young people don't.
And the young people won't give you money. So what we did to get around the fact that young people really don't be putting money in cards, and that was facts, was we came up with this money game in the hat. So we made it a competition. And so in the competition, my wife went on one side, I went on the other side, and we both had hats. And we had, I think it was like 60 seconds or something to run around and try to get as much money as you can. And whatever person had the most money won.
Right, and they got to decide to do what to do with the money
on the honeymoon. Which reality is we just both won,
and yeah,
but we did get a lot of money. Like
we did. That was cool.
Money.
We got that was the spending money for our honeymoon.
Yeah, so it worked.
It worked out.
If y'all looking for something to get y'all some quick spending money on your honeymoon, just everybody likes to give money when it's a competition.
They do,
right? They had it in their pocket and didn't put it in the thing at first, but when it came to a competition, they started sliding out them dollars.
And I won, but we won.
I won. It was a collective winning.
But I won.
Whatever. I don't care.
Okay.
I spent the money, so I won.
Facts. You spend the money.
But overall, it still was a good day, man. Just the whole excitement of getting married, saying I do. Neither one of us had ever been married, right? So it was our first marriage and only marriage. It was our first kiss, and you the last girl I ever kissed.
Amen.
And will
Likewise.
kiss. Come on now. I'm not a girl.
Like, come on, bruh. Chill out.
I understand. But there were some things that went a little crazy.
I mean, it was a stressful day too. I mean, we had a whole rehearsal dinner and all of that stuff the night before. And then, I mean, it was just a stressful day. A lot going on. Waking up early.
Like finding out y'all went to the strip club and everything.
What you not gonna do is defame my character.
What y'all do that night? Did you do anything?
No, we went to the rehearsal dinner. We ate food. I went home.
Right, my guys came over. We
Y'all
played Monopoly all
right?
night.
Yeah, like I went home. I was exhausted from the rehearsal dinner.
Right, and then we're at the wedding. I'm like, why are we not starting?
I was ready.
And yeah, she was
I was ready to go. Hair was done, makeup was on, dress was fitted.
Yes.
I was ready to go.
And I come in there and I'm like, yo, why we not getting married yet?
Yeah, one of my bridesmaids was super concerned and anxious about walking down the aisle and got sick to her stomach and started throwing up.
Yeah, because she was just walking down the aisle to support her. She wasn't even about to say I do.
Facts. She had no lines.
And so, you know me, I'm like, well, leave her. You know, hey, if you watching this right now, I love you, sis. But I was like, then leave her. Like, we not about to be holding on stuff for her. She ain't getting married. And so she figured it out. She got it together.
Yeah.
And then after that, the dang on the
runner?
They couldn't get the runner undone.
Work.
And so we had it planned that my wife was gonna walk out to the Jennifer Hudson song, "Giving Myself Over to You,"
second verse,
and second verse, and they're struggling with the runner. They went through the whole song, and they still sitting up there. And you know, and y'all gotta know me, and I'm sitting there, and I want so bad to come off the altar and go down there and do it myself, and I'm just staring at them like, and I'm trying not to make it an issue, so I'm like, I'm trying to say like, just leave it, man. Just leave it. Like, this is stupid at this point. Like, the DJ had to start the song over. Like, I'm like, he started it. Are y'all still playing with this runner? Yeah. I was so pissed. And then eventually, I don't know if they got it or something. I can't remember.
No, they let it go. I didn't walk on a runner.
I did, man. But then I saw that beautiful you. Oh. And he's coming down that aisle.
Do you remember walking down the aisle, us cracking up laughing? Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, you trash for that. But that is the part that I remember, walking down the aisle and like just chuckling the entire time. Gotcha. Like, I didn't have nerves in that moment. It was just like giggles to me. Like, I was cracking up the entire time.
Then we had to get to the reception and pictures. And that's kind of when it got long. When you're dealing with an introvert and it's like, all right, guys, this has been an all-day process. I'm tired. It's hot. We got to do pictures.
It started after they say I do. They got this thing called a receiving line, which I don't understand why people got to walk by and hug you and say congratulations. Like, I just don't. They got to touch you. So it started in that moment.
Gotcha.
And then we went to take pictures, and it was hot, very hot. Mm-hmm. And we still had to touch people for whatever reason to take pictures. I don't know why people always got to touch you. So then it was that. And then we got to the reception.
Yeah. And you were just...
And I was over it.
You was over
I was over the whole thing.
There were some components that was taking place behind the scene that I didn't even know about. So you got to talk about this, because I wasn't aware of.
Right. So behind the scenes, which even at the time some of it I didn't realize, but I was on a birth control leading up to, the marriage and leading up to the time to have sex.
We just didn't want a baby when we started having
Correct.
sex.
So the birth control I was on, I started to take about 2 months prior to our wedding day, hoping that all the side effects and all that would wear off, and they didn't. So one of the things in the midst of anxiety and stuff I had was, for about 4 to 6 weeks, I had been on my period, and it just didn't stop. Like, it would come, it would go, but it didn't stop. So there was a lot of anxiety on having a wedding day and being like, yo, like, I'm legit on my period. You know what I mean? And what that's going to be like. No one envisions or desires to be married. No woman I've ever met wants to have their period come during their wedding or honeymoon.
And no man that's been waiting for 2.5 years. And when did I find out that she was on her period? Standing in the line before we have to go into the reception. And I'm told at that moment, like, yeah, I'm on my period. And I'm like, just the whole everything in me just sunk into the sunken place, and I was just like,
You did not go into no sunken place.
no sex? I was like, Lord, why would you do this to I waited. She waited. Why would you do this to us, Lord? We supposed to get it on. And so I ain't even gonna lie, that was in my head, and I'm just like, this whole night gonna end with us going to bed. And and so like that was like kind of in my head.
Okay.
And so then when you get just exhausted after all the dancing and everything, and you're like, yo, I'm ready to go. So we
reception still happening. I'm ready to go.
We go. It's the turn up time now. Everybody about to turn up. They knucking if you bucking, and they doing all of that. And my wife like, so we can go, right? So I'm honoring my wife, like, yeah, we can go, because we also got to get ready to head out to Hocking Hills for where we're doing our honeymoon. Yeah. And so I'm like rocking with my wife, but I'm also in my head like, what we leaving for? Like, we ain't about to do nothing but go to sleep. Right. Like what's the excitement of leaving? Like, ain't nothing about to crack off.
To be with your wife.
I mean, I'm just telling you what I was feeling like. So I'm frustrated because I'm an extrovert. So I'm like, you making me leave my party.
Because it was your party.
To go home, to be with my wife, to do what we was doing when we wasn't married. Just chilling, watching TV.
You're so aggressive right now.
I'm telling you how I was feeling. This is how I felt in my spirit.
And you came off that way, too.
It hurt me.
You came off that way in a lot of ways. Yeah, you did.
And so I did, though.
You did.
And so we get to the hotel.
Facts.
And it just started kind of going downhill. It was
all bad for
me. First we counted money, and it was happy.
That was cool. We counted our money.
Ducats, and we was like,
put it to the side.
Let's go.
Yeah,
and then my insensitive behind, not thinking about nothing.
Your 23-year-old virgin wife.
Yep. And I was just like, well, you can do something, though.
Facts. True.
And so you obliged.
I did. You are so diplomatic right now. You know it's beautiful.
Well, I just want to make sure people understand it was consensual. Oh, nobody in the comments like, I mean, they gonna call me a jerk in the comments later in the story, but I don't want them calling me a jerk at this point.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Just remember, that was the old me, the insensitive me.
Facts. You have grown. That's why we still married. Praise
Amen.
God.
And so you obliged, and ain't think nothing of it. You know what I'm saying? Got up the next day. I'm not.
Yeah, we went to breakfast.
And then
we went shopping or something that day too.
Yeah, shopping, because we were still in Cleveland
because we were leaving that night. Yeah.
And then the next night comes, and now you kind of just like, well, it's like, well, it's spotty. It's coming on and off. Yeah. And so I'm like,
well, let's do it then. You know,
they can do it in the tub.
Mm-hmm.
So bad.
You should feel bad as you say these things.
Listen, man.
And your naive 23-year-old wife just all right, whatever.
And so we tried, and it was just not a good.
It was trash.
It was not a good experience.
Trash.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fine, whatever you want to. Well, the experience was trash. Like,
don't
try to play me. Don't try to play me though. And so,
you're hilarious, but yes.
But again, I don't know nothing
because I'm not communicating.
You're not communicating.
And I'm not communicating, nor do I, in that moment at that age, felt empowered to be able to say certain things. Because growing up in church, we never had conversations about sex outside of we weren't having sex.
Yeah, facts.
And then growing up in church, all I knew was you don't have sex till marriage. And then when you married, you have sex.
Right.
So there was never any conversation about how to talk about sex, how to communicate expectations regarding sex, facts. And none of that. So,
even if none of that was an issue, just the fact about you being an introvert. And so, like, if none of that was the issue, you still wouldn't have wanted to have sex that night. Because you would have been exhausted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like, we never, like, none of these were things we even thought to talk about. Like, how is the day going to affect you? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, even if none of that was an issue, there would have been a failed expectation on my behalf, excited and ready. And you, like, I was
excited to go to bed.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that would have been a conflict of issue already right there. So, it's just learning so many things in hindsight of, like, that's why we have so many intimacy conversations with couples now. But Then we get to the honeymoon.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did some fun stuff.
Yeah. We went. Did we go? Duck hunting.
We did
bird shooting.
Bird shooting.
Yeah,
disc shooting. Something.
Yeah,
When you bought
shooting.
your gun.
I did buy my first gun on our.
We learned that
honeymoon.
I couldn't buy guns on our honeymoon.
Yes, you are not allowed to purchase weapons.
They was like, no,
illegal
sir,
for
you can't sell your gun. I'm like, what? I've had a lot of guns in my life. When did this happen?
None of them legal, apparently.
That's not true.
None of them legal,
true. They were
apparently.
legal when I had them.
My bad.
It was after the fact.
Oh, got it.
And we got massages.
Yeah, we did.
We went into a cave.
We went on some hikes. I mean, we had that part of the honeymoon wasn't so bad. It was more so the intimacy when we had to be alone.
It was when we had to be alone in the cabin. And in my head, I'm like, so we about to do it, right? And you still on and off spotting, whatever the case may be, and I'm still like, well, is it like it's like spotting ain't the period? Like it's just spotting, like that's just what I'm saying. Like I'm in my head, I'm like I'm gonna make you spot anyway. So, I'm like let's just do it, And so, hey man, if your kids is watching, man, you gonna want to.
You should have did that at the beginning. I didn't realize this.
But we kept trying. We did keep trying.
We did.
But that was creating issues because then
resentment.
at a point you didn't want to try no more.
I didn't want to touch you to touch me. I didn't want to talk to you. I was developing a lot of resentment for obliging, even though I didn't want to. Some of it was rooted in not knowing how to communicate, and the other was just rooted in thinking you were being an insensitive jerk, and I had married somebody who didn't care about my feelings and didn't care about me.
Yeah, and I wasn't even, and that's legit. Like in hindsight, I know when we talked about that years later. In hindsight, I'm like the Lord had eventually, like I came to you with it.
Yeah.
Like the Lord had like brought that up to me, and I was like, I never realized. Like in my maturity, I started to look back on these situations, and I'm like, yo, I was insensitive to my wife. Like I didn't understand. It didn't register in my head like my wife is a virgin. Mm-hmm. She has no sexual experiences. This was her first sexual encounter and experience, and I did not handle that with care and with romance. I handled it, to be honest, like a dude that wanted to have sex.
Right.
And I never even thought about that because prior to being married to you, I've never had intimacy with a woman where it was really, really about love and romance. It was always just things to do. And so you never had to have that level of care. And so I didn't even know that it was a different way to be intimate. And, and I still be apologizing for it, but
making up for it too.
Yeah, because it created an ongoing, like a 5-year intimacy issue with you and I. But in that moment, it was creating, and we still weren't communicating. So you were feeling how you was feeling, and I'm not knowing how you're feeling. I'm oblivious to this.
Right.
And so I'm like, she don't even want me. She don't want to touch me. She don't like me. So now I'm like, you feeling some type of way about me, and I'm feeling some type of way about you. I'm like, man, I'm married to somebody that I can't have sex with. I'm like, man, this ain't what she don't even like.
I don't like you is what, it wasn't just the sex part. It made you feel rejected.
Because my love language is touch, affirmation, all of that stuff. And so I'm just like, so we're literally on this honeymoon having resentment towards each other. I'm actually
not
the cause.
Feeling love.
I don't even know I'm the cause because we didn't know how to talk back then. And
Right.
Even
though we talked about a lot of things,
we didn't know
there were certain areas we didn't know how to navigate.
Because even in our dating, we never had handled conflict well. We argued.
Oh, facts.
we legit, we would just argue and then you just make up like, well, I mean, we ain't gonna stop being together, so we got to get over it, right? Like we just argued all the time. We didn't learn how to communicate till years later. And so, man, we're coming back and like we argued. I don't remember what the argument was about, but I just knew we came back and it was just like, me in my head, I'm like, man, this not what I thought this was gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Because in my head, I thought the honeymoon was just lots of sex. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, and it wasn't right, fellas. Learn from me. Facts. Learn from me, fellas. Like, that you need to think differently about your honeymoon. It's not just oh, we can finally have sex and I get the weight and everything, especially if you wait. Now, if you're doing it the right way, that's a big day for you. So I'm not saying this was right. I'm just saying, like, this is how 27-year-old me was thinking that got saved at 24 out of a promiscuous lifestyle. And so I had learned how to abstain from sex, but my mind had not been redeemed and renewed around intimacy and sex. I just didn't have it. And I didn't even realize I had to do a work of renewing my mind around the purpose of intimacy and sex and what it means to have sex and intimacy with your wife. And so, but I didn't know that at that moment. And
yeah, I think the same thing is true. I mean, in terms of having a renewed mind, even because even having the mindset that initially, like whatever, it's about him. You know what I mean? That's not the way as a wife or anybody else to view sex, to where it's only about pleasing the other person. It's different if both of our goals are to outplease each other, which is ideal, because if you're outpleasing your spouse and their goal is to outplease you, then y'all both gonna be pleased and satisfied. But that wasn't my mindset. My mindset was just learning that you have sex with your husband. Like so whatever, you just have sex with your husband, and that needed to be renewed to where, no, Dee, this is an area where you're supposed to experience enjoyment and fulfillment and desire as well, and romance. You know what I mean? It's not just let's get it in, but there's a level of intimacy. Romance creates intimacy, but then we know regular stuff, for me at least, create intimacy too. So realizing that, I didn't realize till years later, but in that moment at that time, I just thought that you were legit. I had married somebody who was so insensitive and did not value me as a woman, did not value me as a person, did not value me, and they only thought about themselves. And so that birthed I had a lot of resentment then, and some levels of resentment that I still work to overcome.
No, that's real, and that was just the flaws of new marriages and not having the sex conversation. Nobody talking about. And again, that's why we have so many conversations around intimacy and premarital counseling with people, even with married couples now, because I would say over 70% of the married couples that come to us have an issue surrounding intimacy with one another. And because nobody has really because it's the fear of even talking about it. It's like, well, wait a minute, if we're not supposed to have sex, so that means we shouldn't even talk about sex, because then it's gonna make us want to have sex. And so all the sex conversations are just avoided until now it's time to have sex.
And you're supposed to just know what each other like, what y'all want to do, how you want to do it. Do I wear a towel? Do I wear a nightie? Do I wear, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, where did we made that stuff up. Some of it we made up from sinful expectations we have in our past, whether it was partners we have been with, whether it was pornography, whether it was our own harmful sexual experiences to us that, convolute that. And then some of it is just like we watch too many movies,
just expectations from stuff that ain't got nothing to do with the Bible. And so, guys, we came back having resentment for one another, and I'm just wanting, so y'all don't attack me in the comments, you know what I'm saying? I acknowledge much later, like, I was the cause of this issue. Like, I learned later, like, no, like, my resentment wasn't legit. I was just ignorant to my faults and my failures. But we came back though from the honeymoon, both feeling that, to where we called Pastor. We called Pastor Ron, and we said, man.
We called him in the middle of an argument too.
Yeah, we was arguing too.
Yeah, and you was like, so call him then. I said, oh, so you don't think I'm gonna call him? Because I feel like he was trying to punk me.
Yeah, I wanted her to call him though.
And so your reverse psychology.
No, because I didn't want to be married to you.
Facts. And so we called him right there in the car or in the living room or something, and was just like, yeah, we can't do this. Yeah, we made a mistake.
And he couldn't even understand it. I mean, it was so bad. And we'll end up talking about this in later episodes when we talk about like the communication issues. Like that was the first time.
Facts.
Because this was times where there was letters written that we were going to get divorced. Like we left rings on tables. Like
in a heartbeat.
Like there was at least 3 occasions of asking for a divorce for sure. But that was the first one. And the thing is, we didn't even understand that this was the cause of it. So all we could explain was we was beefing.
Yeah, and we couldn't get along.
And so Pastor Ron, he couldn't even give us real counsel because he has no clue about what we're talking about now because we didn't understand this till later.
Fact.
And so all we can say is like, we ain't liking each other. We arguing all the time. And he's just like, well, that's not
reason to get a divorce.
But there was another component of that because of the depot shot that you were
Facts,
on too.
the birth control.
So on top of it, it was also magnifying feelings too.
Correct. Which is something that like my life, I had never struggled with like mood anything, anxiety or depression. But being on that birth control, one of the major side effects is actually depression. And so the spotting was a part of it. The gaining weight was a part of it. But then the feelings that I was having. So there would be times to where I would just like be in the shower crying and had no idea why I was crying. And that's not normal. That wasn't normal behavior for me. Like, I'm just crying because it's so horrible being with him. Like, I am in so many levels of
like
despair.
legit. Like I'm listening to this. I'm like, she in the shower crying? So I'm like, and I'm still like, I take things very personal.
Yes, you do.
And I still don't. We don't know how to communicate. So instead of me checking on my wife,
right.
I'm just like, well, if you don't want to be with me, then like we ain't gotta be together. We ain't about to be sitting up here crying like I'm hurting you or something. So I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, so that's another thing. I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna be with somebody that don't want to be with me. They crying and
oh my goodness,
man,
you
I
are
was,
so not that person anymore.
man, bro. Like, yeah, I was bad.
Oh my goodness,
I was
you
bad.
were.
I was up. And so I know people probably like, so like, how did he shift to being like who he is now? And there was a major shift. There were two shifts that y'all gonna have to really subscribe because I think around episode 5 we'll talk about the shift of the choosing to love. That was kind of the first shift, which brought you back around eventually to loving me. But then it was the crisis of us losing our daughter that really began to bond us as a couple. So there was major shifts in our life that got us on this trajectory towards health and healing. But the reality is that we wanted to share with you guys today is the reason that we wanted to have a divorce. We asked for a divorce coming back from the honeymoon was legitly because there was intimacy issues because of my insensitivity, because I just didn't know, and because of
there was things going on that I just didn't know about me.
And then not communicating.
And not being able, communication was huge. Yeah. Not being able or willing, not even not being able to, not wanting to communicate. There was some things I intentionally wanted to hold. Because
I was communicating. Because I was telling you, like, just bad communication. But I was expressing.
You were.
And you weren't. At that time, you weren't communicating back to me. So I had no idea. And to be honest, though, not even to put that on you. Because to be honest, at that place in my life, I probably wouldn't have received that anyway. Because I didn't know. Because later on, we talk about communication issues. You didn't trust me with your feelings and emotions. Because I wasn't a safe place. Even when you did want to open up. So it probably would have even been worse if you shared that. Because I probably would have really invalidated you.
Look at some grace inside of that.
It probably would have been. Like if I think about, they gonna hear about stuff. So
I know we had some conversations that were. Yeah.
So, but here's what we want to do, man. Listen, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get ready to end this episode, man. We just wanted to talk to you guys about what caused us to want a divorce, and it was the things around intimacy. But in the next episode, man, we don't want to just leave you guys hanging. So in the next episode, we're gonna talk about how do we heal from those intimacy issues to begin to understand intimacy, have a healthy sex life that wasn't just centered around just the intercourse, but the whole conversation around intimacy. And so, and make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell, because if you are struggling with intimacy issues, if you are trying to figure out this sex thing, because as Christians, man, we just don't have good conversations around this, then you're gonna want to tune in into the next episode, because we're gonna really begin to explain and express and share how we got from what we just shared to us being the freaky couple that we is.
I was just gonna say a healthy sex life, because it's healthy.
I mean,
you don't have to be
freaky. Come on now.
Healthy is freaky.
Yeah,
that's the tagline.
Healthy is freaky
in marriage.
Because the marriage bed is undefiled.
What? In this podcast.
All right, listen, guys. Hit the like button, hit the share button, notification. Help us get this podcast out. If you think these conversations are helpful, if you're loving our story and our journey, help us get this podcast out. Share it with your friends. Talk about it on your social media. And again, just help us spread the news around Tanks Talk podcast. Take care.